There have been at least $2 million worth of items in cash seized as a result of the 6-year probe at Toronto's Pearson International Airport. According to the police, the thieves, airport workers, systematically marketed the stolen products online. To the allegations made against them, 2 people have admitted culpability. One of the largest seizures of commodities in a single Canadian criminal investigation included bundles of Canadian $100 bills, computers, cameras, DVD players, and mink coats. The airport crime network would just steal cargo. Instead of delivering particular things to their destinations, the participating lorry drivers would sell them on the well-known eBay auction website. By examining the trends of products sold on eBay, the police unit west of Toronto made a significant breakthrough in the investigation. They laboriously compared the items to those that were regularly reported missing by airport freight companies. According to police estimates, the burglars made off with merchandise more than $4 million during their activities. So, who brought the idea of building wealth this way? How did the police get the idea of this passive heist? What happened thereafter? You will get to know this and plenty more as we dive into details. So sit tight, stay tuned with us till the end of this video. However, before that, here's a quick reminder that you can subscribe for free and like the video so that we can boost the algorithm. Comments are most welcomed. Toronto's Pearson International Airport is Canada's largest airport. The airport gets shipments from all over the world and boasts the biggest cargo terminals. Every day, millions of things come. The process never stops. To accommodate as many shipments as possible, all of the goods are kept in a sizable, roomy facility. There were all different things stocked, so you may locate anything you need. That is like a child entering a huge toy store. If anyone has ever considered stealing from this establishment, he will undoubtedly be apprehended as soon as he leaves because the building is guarded by more than 100 police officers. However, the airport administration learned in the late 1980s and early 1990s that several skids of expensive goods were vanishing, including cameras, hard drives, laptops, and many other items that were valuable at the time, some worth up to $500,000 each. The police set up a task team right once to figure out how the criminals managed to evade detection while navigating the airport's strict security measures and steal cargo skids. On that perimeter, everything is safe. There are cameras everywhere and everyone can see them close by. Also, security personnel will check your tag to make sure it is still valid before allowing you admission. Despite all of these measures, cargo continued to vanish for years and police inquiries were fruitless. They made a lot of effort, but finally were unable to stop this crime. The investigation process was difficult for a number of reasons, chief among them being the airport administration's tardy discovery of the stolen cargo. As I previously mentioned, the facility was so vast and spread out that nobody could have paid attention to what was missing. There were numerous shipments coming in and going out every day, so trying to locate the stolen cargo was a huge task. In addition, since there is no inventory storage system and it is in the 1990s, the entire operation resembled searching for a needle in a haystack. The police stated that they received the call after a week, but in reality, they were alerted too late, complicating their duty. Any evidence that would have been acquired at the scene due to the delay in calling the police would have been lost. The warehouse employees were very circumspect and careful in some of their responses, despite the fact that the police were unable to elicit any information from them and had no idea where to begin. They knew each other extremely well because they had been working together for a long time. The workers were like a family or gang. The police felt helpless and unable to stop the thefts, which continued for years. In fact, the authorities came to the conclusion that the robberies were the work of an organized crime group that operated inside the airport. They held the opinion that carrying out such operations takes a lot of effort and time. They had to be familiar with all aspects of cargo operations, including security personnel, managers, supervisors, and truck drivers. Thus, all of these elements contributed to the perception that a sizable number of airport employees were looting the goods. The crimes, however, were carried out by a single person who was neither a director nor a supervisor, proving that the police were mistaken and that he could not have known the intricate workings of the airport or had a thorough understanding of its operations. The thefts were the result of a straightforward truck driver who discovered a way to get past security, steal almost $7 million worth of cargo, and sell it all over the world. How did he manage to make it happen? Let's start, since we're just as interested as you are. Quao Lam Ong, a truck driver, is a Vietnamese immigrant who arrived in Toronto, Canada in the late 1980s with $50 in his pocket. He was driven by a strong desire to become wealthy and was willing to do whatever it took to get there. He started by assimilating into the Asian community. By treating people kindly, he found it easy to establish friends. He usually had a smile on his face when he met someone, which left a good impression and helped him establish a good reputation. For this reason, he was given the moniker Smiley. After a short while, Mr. Smiley met a woman by the name of Teresa who was an immigrant from Vietnam. They connected right away, and soon after they were married. Mr. Smiley and her teenage stepson Benny moved in Teresa's flat. Teresa found her husband a job as a truck driver at the shipping company where she worked. Picking up and delivering items from the Pearson Airport to businesses throughout the city was Mr. Smiley's work. But the position only earned $1,600 per month, which was insufficient for Mr. Smiley to realize his dream of being wealthy. Since Mr. Smiley used to deliver goods himself, he had an excellent understanding of their costs. The precious objects he was carrying made him aware that if he could simply steal a couple of them and sell them, he would surely become wealthy. He was unable to steal from the cargo, though, because it was his responsibility to deliver it. Suddenly, he understood that the best spot to steal was by going straight into the warehouse. As luck would have it, he didn't have a pass that would have allowed him to enter the warehouses, so when he arrived at the airport, he had to show the security guards his ID card and his pass. The pass had to be worn around his neck the entire time he was inside the warehouse, and the pass had limited him to a small area where he had to stand and wait for the workers to bring the goods before loading them into the truck himself. Due to his constant smiles since day one, Mr. Smiley already had a good relationship with the staff, but found himself pushed to get closer to them. So all he wanted to do was strengthen it a little, and he discovered that the best way to accomplish this was to really invite them to meals and give them gifts, among other things. The worker was shocked when Mr. Smiley approached him as he was loading Mr. Smiley's truck and asked if he could throw an extra skid of goods into the truck without telling anyone in exchange for $2,000. He accepted the offer right away because he knew they wouldn't find the missing cargo for a long time and that it wouldn't be traceable. When Mr. Smiley returned home, he unpacked the cargo he had received from the worker and discovered it was filled with electronics that could have been worth $100,000 or more. The issue was that he needed customers for his wares. So he started networking with proprietors of computer stores and offering them the devices at fair pricing, obviously lower prices than the market. Another time, Mr. Smiley gave one of the employees more money so that he could load an additional skid of merchandise. This time, it was closed cargo, which was obviously less profitable than the electronics, but could still be sold to some of his acquaintances and contacts for less money. Therefore, as usual, his network continued to expand. The fact that the stolen cargo was chosen at random meant that he had no idea of the products he had stolen, whether they were electronics, clothing, or something else entirely. As a result, every time he stole a cargo, he received new goods and had to find new customers to buy them, which complicated his retailing process. He made the decision to collaborate with their wife, who had been his helper in his thefts, to find a solution. As we previously indicated, they both worked for the same company, thus his wife used her position. Teresa could provide him with precise information regarding arriving cargo, including the airplane it arrived on, its value, and the area where it would be held. Using Teresa's knowledge, Mr. Smiley thoroughly examined the merchandise being sent to each warehouse. As a result, his thefts grew increasingly well organized, which made it easier for him to sell the stolen goods. Occasionally, they were even brought before being taken. Mr. Smiley started focusing on pricey cargo in an effort to boost his revenues and grow his empire. Yet, the more cargo he took, the more problems he ran into as a result of the volume of stolen cargo. Because of its size and scope, which made delivery challenging, he chose to include Benny among his allies. Benny and Mr. Smiley both treated him as a son. Benny took over the distribution of computer and electronic accessories and outsold his stepfather in terms of his sales prowess. To earn the trust of the proprietors of computer stores, he made his own contacts with them. Benny used to pretend to work for a legitimate shipping company that didn't exist by presenting invoices and business cards with his alias Joe Yang on them. So the majority of store owners thought they were unquestionably purchasing legal goods from a reliable source. Notwithstanding Benny's ability to quickly and easily sell the stolen products in a normal manner without incident, the Smileys were still having storage problems as a result of the repeated theft attempts that caused the products to accumulate. Mr. Smiley needed a secure location to keep his belongings, and because hiring a public storage unit was risky, he decided to buy 2 nearby homes. He lived in one and used the other as a storage facility. The neighbors would frequently observe the Smileys coming and going with their cargo, which seemed strange and peculiar to them, and piqued their curiosity about what was going on around them. Every day, the Smileys brought cargo and stored it in their home. Yet, Smiley, being Smiley, consistently demonstrated his dependability via his actions. Even someone questioned him as to why he kept all those items in his home. He would only respond that he worked in the shipping business and occasionally utilized his home as a warehouse. His business, although illegal, was gradually growing, and he was having supply and demand problems with his distribution problems. Everything in his home was in excess since he had more items than buyers. Fortunately, the internet revolution was just getting started at that time in the late 1990s, so a number of websites emerged. One of these websites was eBay, which allows users to sell and purchase items from anywhere in the globe and allows registration without a recognized identity or bank account. Mr. Smiley took advantage of the website and began selling his stolen goods. With the pricing he set, sales poured in from all over the world, not just Canada. The Smileys started handling packaging and shipping out of their home or warehouse, which sped up and improved the selling process. Thanks to eBay, Smileys were able to accomplish 19,000 sales, which increased their wealth and allowed them to maintain the expansion of their empire for 13 years. I find this to be amazing. Without the police or the airport administration noticing, the thefts continued for more than 10 years. The cargo workers, in Mr. Smiley's opinion, were essential to his business. In order to keep them happy, he insisted on giving those gifts, paying their bills, being by their sides anytime they needed assistance, or just buying them off. He was able to ensure their loyalty to him in this way, which allowed his business to continue operating for more than 13 years. Even after stepping up their efforts and going undercover, the police were unable to identify the person responsible for those thefts, and the case investigation remained stagnant. The police were helpless during this period as they could only see merchandise being loaded onto tracks. They had no means of knowing whether it was being stolen or if it was just ordinary business. Many warehouse workers made it nearly impossible for them to narrow down their lists of potential suspects, and Mr. Smiley remained hidden as a result. When one of the proprietors of a computer store reported that someone had broken into his store and robbed him in November 2001, the police finally discovered their first lead. The hard drive serial numbers from the computer store crime and the airport theft matched. So the police reacted quickly and inspected the store. They found that among the stolen products were hard drives. Police have found some of the stolen products for the first time. When the police questioned the store owner about where he got those hard drives, he admitted that they were bought from a shipping company that was represented by a man by the name of Joe and gave them his phone number. The police checked the number and found it belonged to Benny. They immediately put him under surveillance. The surveillance was pretty thorough and provided the police with a wealth of information. They observed Benny taking items from their home and discovered a wall of items when he opened the garage. When the police discovered that they had finally located the burglar they had been looking for years, they also learned that Mr. Smiley was the home's owner. The police wait to make an arrest until they have amassed enough proof to make a compelling case. The police received specific information about how the thefts were carried out as a result of the surveillance, which lasted days. On December 13, 2001, when the police were prepared to act, they broke into Smiley's home and took the entire family into custody. The authorities were astounded by the sheer number of objects that were inside the home. It was practically a warehouse according to Mr. Smiley, his wife Teresa, and his stepson Benny. Up to $1.2 million in cash was found by the police. The entire family was detained on suspicion of possessing stolen property, and before the case went to trial, Mr. Smiley agreed to confess and plead guilty in exchange for Teresa and Benny's release. He also confessed that he was in charge of the entire scheme and returned over $6 million in cash and property. The bargain was approved by the police, and Mr. Smiley received less punishment and completed a 2-year prison term. With that tragic downfall, we have reached the end of Mr. Smiley's story. Did the show keep you captivated? Do let us know in the comments section below. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that thumbs up. It will help us understand our audience and allows YouTube to suggest similar videos to you. Thanks for watching. We hope to see you at the next one.